Yeah, it's done. Voting starts tomorrow.
Okay,
We're
so
not
that
gonna
would be
do
like.
any of the districts.
Yeah,
What is it?
yeah, the package will, I'm planning on just compiling like.
Because I'm worried, and I don't even know what to do, I'm worried that the court's gonna come back and say, especially the federal court, just do one primary. So they stop this one and move it all to.
Yeah. Yeah, they sort of stayed out. Okay, it was,
Yeah, it was at the down.
It's a three-judge panel.
yeah, so I think
So
they
when
are
isn't that also?
staying out. I mean, that's state law, and they're trying to do state law, right? Chances of getting it.
Yeah, so I was gonna let you know today at the station what my plan was and if you were okay with it. Yeah, why would we be? Just don't wanna be bossy.
It's getting.
Just make sure you're okay with my plan. You know that I like to have a plan. I know. I was saying, I told Amy that Amy goes, you know you're with Gina. He said, yeah, Gina's just gonna be concerned about where to park the car. Yeah, well, yeah. She's like, other than that, Gina will be good. Well, I just get nervous about where to park, so I wanna walk to the place. Yeah.
No, the state
And I
senate.
got my shoulder mounts.
Right. The local, the state senate,
The
state.
US Senate
Yeah.
would be on, that's ballot.
And also Marcy's congressional districts are also.
Yes, because the court hasn't moved
I
that
should just
more.
let you drive there to park the car, I don't worry about it.
Yeah. We're still reviewing the we're still reviewing.
That's the least I can do.
Most recent.
I think it's still under review.
It's still under review.
Right.
It's gonna be under
I think
review,
we should
it'll
park.
stay on the ballot.
And they show pause here coming up.
Well, yeah, I think if we get there early enough, we can park somewhere along St. Clair, right where the entrance.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's one, like one of it. Yeah. Yeah, cause I think that's where. Other than that, then we can, if not, we can park on, I don't know the other.
I don't know, I mean, and there's no one really to call them out.
Over the, like.
There's no overseeing support. It's just they do.
I can do that. They always want to
Responsible for
like, we
enforcement.
just drive along the sidewalk.
So they force their.
I mean, if we get there early enough,
Yeah.
I'll probably already.
That's what we're doing.
Like by noon, he'll be setting up for Will and Jeff's shot. They're gonna be in the outfield. So I think either way, we'll be able to park somewhere.
So
along
Mike Beasley.
either of the.
Just, you know, what we all know, you know, these in the background, you
I
know.
know they're excited. No, it's not something. Like if we were going to baseball game, would you be there? No. I mean, I can't really say baseball is my life, so like for me, getting to a baseball game is not like we get there. Yeah, that's my favorite. But I think we should get there.
Well, yeah, he might see that building.
Yeah.
And it's sort of.
We might be able to find something. I know. I'm looking at that, read that there's
Besides my.
Yeah.
bands and things like for them to do leading up to the game, so maybe that's.
Two more.
When do you eat my lunch? Already? No.
And she's going to money with the way through.
I'd like to eat.
That's kind of the first.
Is that big?
Too, Gina. It's okay. I know, but I really wish I was fast and it was a shit going on. Do you have a way of checking your blood sugar? No.
She doesn't have a-
I don't know.
No.
No. It could cost $1,000,000.
But until they go to districts, she would be moved in.
They're like, oh, never mind, it's $10,000.
Because by the time they do May, and June as far as waiting for the overseas ballots, uncertified officials.
They're like, oh,
And then they have to start doing the
teach it eye replacement.
and we still get that until August to certify.
They'll do everything. Just let you have like 300, 400 blood sugar. I just love my fingers. I got 2 favorite fingers.
No, I don't think so. But.
I know, by the time the sun comes out, we think for it for sure.
So Marcy's fine.
You know, but as soon as you try it, then
But-
there's, you never need it for another year. But I have a problem for it.
Oh, I bought like a $60 like underarm
Exactly.
long sleeve thing. Never worn it.
Yes, yes.
You wear it more.
Yeah, is it warm enough that you can wear it without you put something underneath it?
It's big enough.
The sweatshirt underneath and then.
She has somebody of notoriety.
I know, I already go looking shopping.
Yeah, mine
Isn't she like a?
is like how big?
That's why I'm trying to figure out, yeah, I'm trying to figure out what I'm gonna wear for tomorrow. And I'm just like, we're gonna be walking around, like I can't really fit, like I wanna move, but also I'm gonna get hot.
No, exactly, tomorrow is the next year. Big money, kind of.
Yeah, it was right.
Am I even gonna wear it?
No, and then all summer be like, oh, this thing's hotter.
Yeah. Yeah, I know, I've been, like, for the last 2 days, I was really gonna wear.
They should make like a sweatshirt that says go walleye, go
They need to wear it.
Yeah, no,
They need a reversible one.
A reversible.
That sounds good.
It's not fair. You won't get one or the other. You can't.
Yeah.
That's a big decision.
Yeah.
When's the walleye?
It's January 2020.
Mhm.
Might
Yeah,
be
we take its coat off.
or-
Yeah.
or-
I think it's
That was kind of.
What a-
Yeah.
Yeah. I think I should saw my.
Oh, yeah, she's here.
There was
Yeah.
that.
I thought, oh, I walked in here so I got.
He's in the first conversation.
So I thought, oh, he was a girl. Yeah, see, I knew it was right. I don't know why somebody else.
Yeah, that's fine.
It's
It's just fun.
everywhere you go. It's
The-
she's
the- what was it, like glasses, or those ones, probably all around.
He's got a lot of.
and she's even more
So cool with it. It really is.
When are they gonna start taking photos for events in the fall?
I think they already are. I mean, it's.
Hi, Sheriff. Hi. How you doing today?
Yeah, they're.
Uh-oh.
No,
Just a little, bit of leather?
this month, yeah.
Don't want to hear me.
Yeah, actually,
No, keep talking.
last week, he said maybe this week he should send something else we don't have.
Yeah, we set that up.
And what is that, the old garden?
Yeah.
Yes.
It's a, definitely.
So the Marcy
Also,
Kaptur.
the sweets.
Homewood.
Sweets. There's just consider that.
Hi, Mark. How you doing today? Good chipper as always. Trying to be. Yeah. How about you? Oh, it's a great day to be alive.
Okay.
That's why we work well together.
She's short, I'm not. Yeah.
Right, it's trying to make it relevant.
He didn't like, his, I mean, he was just trying to get it. Promote support.
Yeah.
But it was just like, we are just a party, a lavish party. And then be like, you know, our musicians are live records and blah, blah, blah. And then they come back out and they're like, what's next? I'm like, it was just so awkward. Like, it's a little more, he had the reports of the track.
What?
It seems like he's made it.
Morning.
Morning, how are you?
Good,
Okay, today's a good day. A little wet. Let's see here. I'm going to have to move just a little bit. Let's see, just till I have room for. Let's see. Well, first of all, thank you for coming out in the wet weather. This is the beginning of a good week, and we are very grateful to be together. It's a special privilege for me to accept the invitation of our very able sheriff, Mike Navarre, who I first met on an airplane when he was going to FBI training in Washington, D.C. I'll never forget that. And had been a very, very experienced and respected member of the Toledo Police Division for many, many years, and understands what the words to protect and serve really mean. So I'm very honored to be with him today, along with our very dedicated and caring county commissioners, Commissioner Tina Skeldon-Wozniak and Gary Byers. We have an important announcement that we're doing together concerning law enforcement and the proposed new Lucas County Jail. Today we are announcing $2 million in federal support from the U.S. Department of Justice for planning and design of a new jail that will include a comprehensive wing for diagnosis and the path toward treatment for those needing mental and behavioral care. Let me thank the sheriff for his leadership and understanding on how very important this facility is to our region. Every community in America needs this kind of thinking. Sadly, jails across our country have become the primary domiciliary for patients who have been deinstitutionalized for over 4 decades from mental health facilities across our country, as well as younger patients who simply have not been properly diagnosed at the elementary level and grow up having very serious illness that no one in their family understands. Further complicating the situation across our nation is that there is a shortage of 100,000 neuropsychiatrists in our country and 400,000 properly trained advanced behavioral practice nurses. That's something for us to think about here in Toledo with a medical university and how we can create the talents we need to heal. The experts I'm talking about have the skills and training to properly diagnose and treat patients who live with these ailments, and the shortage of their talents nationwide makes Sheriff Navarre's job almost impossible. Okay? Let me give some background. It is estimated that upwards of 50%, depending on which institution you're talking about, 25 to 50% of all jail and prison inmates, upwards of 2 million Americans, present on booking with very serious behavioral and mood swing conditions. These include depression, schizophrenia, schizoaffective disorder, bipolar, and post-traumatic stress. In prisons and jails, sadly, suicide is the most common cause of death. Neuroscientists tell us, though brain science is incomplete, more discoveries about causation for these troubling conditions are occurring each year. It appears biochemical imbalances of the central nervous system play a role. In addition, atypically shaped brain neurons characterize these conditions. Further, cranial synapse at the top of the head in such patients tends to be larger than normal, as though the top of the cranium did not fuse as tightly as persons without these conditions. Simply, the brain is injured. We also know many patients with these crippling conditions become easy prey for drug dealers. Often individuals at booking are comorbid with both a brain condition as well as a substance abuse condition. Often such individuals have become estranged from their families and end up loners and homeless. I can still recall a mayor, Ed Koch from New York City, locking horns with civil liberty attorneys about the rights of the homeless being able to sit on subway grates in their own excrement in the freezing winter. He ignored the attorneys and ordered the individuals taken to Bellevue Hospital there. The attorneys argued the homeless had a civil right to be free, even in freezing weather. Mayor Koch helped them to medical care because he understood such individuals without treatment could not exercise their free will in their own self-interest. Here in Toledo, we are so fortunate to have an experienced visionary sheriff, dedicated county commissioners, a medical university, which becomes very important in all of this, a state forensic psychiatric hospital that needs to be improved, and a mental health levy our citizenry has always supported. Let us find a way to better serve this challenging population by robust diagnosis, research, and treatment. Enough caring people here in our region know how challenging these medical conditions are. They are crippling. We also know that the status quo is simply unacceptable. That is why a new jail that incorporates a mental health wing is a breakthrough and fundamental to making human progress right here in Toledo and Lucas County. Finally, in closing, let me comment that just a year ago, a Toledo police officer was lost in crossfire. His name, Brandon Stalker. I attended that funeral. The entire region wept for what happened to him. He was caught in difficult crossfire by a perpetrator whose comments Chief Krall described as incoherent. Untreated mental illness registered in this community again. So when this new facility is made operational, may our community take another step forward for human progress. Congratulations to all, and I will now turn it over to Sheriff Navarre, and then to Commissioner Byers, and then to Commissioner Wozniak.
Actually, I think we'll change that just a little bit.
Orders change?
Yeah, but that's okay. Welcome to everyone. In the Commissioner's office, we are excited about this. Obviously, this step and the ability of our representative, Marcy Kaptur, to bring federal funds into our community is so key to making the things that we need in this community to be a success. Obviously, this is a big step in making sure that we have a new facility that we're going to build, and we're going to build it downtown, and we're going to do it without a tax increase. Those are key. But what about these specific dollars? We are now in the phase of architectural engineering. We look to spend about $6.5 million in the actual engineering of the new facility. Having these dollars to focus on mental health, we all know as a community that we have problems with people that are under mental health disabilities. For instance, we have the Criminal Justice Coordinating Council has tracked information to show that 68% of the folks that are over in the jail, even as we speak, have had some contact with our mental health support services in Lucas County. 25% of those folks have been diagnosed with severe mental health issues. This is not an issue that we can merely ignore anymore. It affects our community, it affects the safety, and it affects these families and the people that are being housed in the jail. We recently had a death. Jamisha Taylor had actually been found incompetent to stand trial. This was a problem back when I was a judge, that there was not always a place for folks that have been found incompetent to stand trial in order to get the treatment that they need so that they can be returned to competency. A ruling had been made by a common pleas judge that in fact she was incompetent, and it's incumbent upon the sheriff to hold those folks until there's a space at the facility that she was to receive services. This is something that has been a problem in the past and will be a problem going forward. It's important that we have a facility that is state-of-the-art in helping folks with mental health problems, so that while they're waiting in these types of situations, they're given the state-of-the-art treatment that they possibly can. We look to spend about $6.5 million on the architectural and engineering. This is almost a third of that that will be paid for by the federal government. And on behalf of both the sheriff and Commissioner Wozniak, I want to say thank you to Marcy, because she's always out there fighting for our community, and it means so much, and it's times like this that we can actually put the success of our Congresswoman into projects on behalf of our community, and this is a big one. I'm now going to turn it over to the sheriff to say a few words. Sheriff.
Thank you, Commissioner Byers. Thank you, Congresswoman Kaptur. About a year ago, I indicated that I was going to try to meet with Congresswoman Kaptur to talk about potentially her helping out with this project. And the question that was asked, well, why do you want to meet with her? And I said, because she always comes through. And that's the truth. So we didn't meet because of COVID. We ended up talking on the phone for close to an hour. And I know her passion for individuals with mental illness. And she made no commitment to me. I got a call later that same day from someone that works in her office in Washington, D.C. And after talking to Margaret McGinnis, I knew that Marcy was going to be able to help us out. So thank you. I certainly appreciate that. When I met her back in 1990, she didn't mention that we were in an airplane terminal in Pittsburgh, waiting for a U.S. air flight to take us back to Toledo, or we were going to Washington, one or the other. That's back when flights ran from Toledo to Washington through Pittsburgh. The good old days, right? But the question that I get asked frequently is, why do you need a new jail? This jail was built in the mid-'70s. It's not even 50 years old. And to be quite honest with you, that's the question that I asked 4 or 5 years ago when they were talking about building a new jail. I mean, the jail looks fine. Well, the simple answer to that question is that jail was built about 10 years too soon. Because prior to 1980, that's the way they built jails. In the 80s, they finally figured it out that this isn't the way you do it. The philosophy of those individuals that are charged with the responsibility to manage jails changed. And they went from what we currently have now, which is indirect supervision. We check on people every 30 minutes. People on suicide watch, we check on every 10 minutes. The way it should be done is direct supervision, and that's what modern facilities are utilizing. You have continuous interaction with the inmates or the patients on the medical floor. There are no barriers. It's a safer environment. It's conducive to treatment and healing. We don't have that. So the next question is, well, why can't we do that in our current facility? Well, it wasn't designed to accommodate those changes other than gutting the inside of that building and leaving 4 walls and a roof. Well, we can't do that because we've got 350 inmates that we have to do something with in the meantime. So the answer is, we need to build a new facility. This is absolutely the right thing to do. I don't think anyone that has been in that jail or been in a modern jail would argue that point. I myself have been in probably 7 or 8 just in the last 18 months. I saw another jail that was worse than ours, and that was in Cuyahoga County. They need a new jail. But this is a tremendous help for us. It's kind of a catalyst. We've got a plan in place. We hope to be able to release that plan before the end of the year, or actually before the middle of the year, on where this jail is going to be, what it's going to look like, and what it's going to house. But we we do the best we can in the facility. This is not a reflection of the people that work there, but we have to do better. We have to create a good, safe environment for the inmates that are in that building. When I speak to a graduating class of correction officers, which I'll be doing on April 21st, I will give them my personal philosophy on treating those individuals in that building with dignity and respect. Treat each one of those people as if it was a family member. We have to create an environment that we would feel comfortable with our own family members being incarcerated. And that doesn't exist now, and we're moving forward. I've been very fortunate to have the support of the county commissioners. I don't know what else Matt Harmon does, but I think this has been his full-time job for the last 18 months. And we wouldn't be here today if it wasn't for Matt. And thank you again, Congresswoman Kaptur. We're going to get there. You're going to be there when we cut the ribbon.
So sweet, I tell you. We're so fortunate to have such caring people that want to lead us in the right direction. I think we've waited years and years and years for this press conference. Congresswoman Kaptur knows so much about the needs of persons with mental illness. She's so knowledgeable. You heard her speak today. But to be able to deliver dollars that are necessary for these big, big projects takes a special person. So, I mean, our hearts are filled with really faith and love and hope that we're finally going to get where we wanted to get for quite a long time. This new wing of the Correction Center is really a big piece of comprehensive services that we can deliver should we have this new wing. I think it's so important to understand that so many of the people with persistent mental illness might not even yet have been diagnosed. They might be coming there because they acted out their illness, but no one knew that really it's the beginning stages of mental health illness. Some of these people are very young, they're very sick, and they come to our jail because they need to be detained. But at the end of the day, they will somehow make their way back into society. So aren't we better off if we treat them while they're in our facility so that when they leave our facility, they're connected to resources? It has to begin there. If people have mental illness and they get into a setting that makes them worse, it really exacerbates their condition. We don't want that. We want them to be able to do better. If not just for the citizen or the human being that we're referring to, think about the workforce. The workforce has to take care of people in some of their most crisis moments. In order to do that, they need a proper environment. So really, this is a win on both sides of the equation. It's a win for the workforce, and it's a win for persons and families with mental illness. So this building will create those opportunities that we're fighting for: better services, better assessment, better access to medications right away instead of medications 2 and 3 and 4 weeks down the road. So I'm just so grateful for our sheriff who understands it, gets it, and in fact promotes it. For my colleague to work with Gary Byers, who wants to be sure that our mental health and our jail is built properly, something that we can be proud of for 30 plus years. And last but not least, thank you so much, Congresswoman Kaptur. I can't imagine more leadership that you could provide than adding this piece to our long-term goals. So thank you so much, and we're really looking forward to great progress. And this is a really important piece to making quality of life in our community much, much better. Thank you.
Are there any questions or comments? Let me just say, coming out of the pandemic, you know, we have serious situations across our country with young people, and there isn't a teacher or a principal you talk to that doesn't need help in schools to give better guidance to our youth who've been isolated oftentimes and they haven't been able to socialize. So we expect these numbers to rise. They are already. And I asked a question once when the sheriff and Commissioner Byers and Commissioner Skeldon Wozniak were first talking about the jail along with Commissioner Gerken, and I said, what percentage of the young people who are arrested early in their life for for acting out, for some kind of breach of the law, what percentage of them end up in the adult facility? And the answer I was given, 75%. So one of the areas, I'm just sharing with this because we as a country have to do much better. We have to have early diagnosis and treatment at the juvenile level. And we need better science, and we need people in place who can diagnose. What I worry about the most is, where are we going to get the talent in this community to do it and to meet the need? We have overworked psychiatrists. We have institutions like Harbor, like the Zeph Center, and many others, Scott Schuyler, and all the substance abuse dollars that flow in here. But the honest truth is, we need a cadre of trained people, including in law enforcement. And at the national level, funding for that to help at the local level. This is not unique to Toledo and Lucas County, but I believe with the facilities we have here, we can really do something remarkable to help other places in the country do it right, finally. And so this provides us that opportunity. Thank you for listening to all of us and being here on a very serious but important topic.
Congresswoman, with the increased discussion on mental health across the nation, is it easier now when you're going to the federal government to procure money when it comes to mental health, whether it be for law enforcement and corrections?
You know, it's a complicated question. This week in Washington, in the Committee of Jurisdiction for Health Policy and Funding for Mental Illness, we will debate and pass within that committee several measures, including amendments dealing with mental illness. But I've served in Congress a while now, and I can tell you when the bills on mental health parity came to the floor of Congress and I voted for them, I thought that meant equal treatment. It really isn't true. And many penal facilities across this country, when an ill person with mental illness is placed in that facility, their Medicaid payment is cut off. This is unbelievable across our country, that if they're on a medicine and they desperately need it, it's cut off. I mean, it's like, we have a big education job to do in the country, coast to coast, so that people understand the implications. Many of these individuals, I'm sure the sheriff can verify, end up loners, or their families reject them, or they're homeless. This is not an easy diagnosis to treat. And so we are working at it at the federal level. I'm part of a mental health working group in the Congress itself. If you have a personal interest in this subject and want to learn more, there's a great book written by a former CBS newscaster named Ron Powers. He and his wife had 2 children who were schizophrenic. One committed suicide, and the other is still alive. He describes what happens inside a family and with individuals in such a precise way. I just think, as a reporter, as a journalist, he really helped the country with a book. The name of the book, I don't like the title of the book, and the title is "Nobody Cares About Crazy People." I don't like that title, but what's in the book is dramatic and important for every American to understand who cares about this. Another individual that I think is just, he's ill now, he's a doctor, he used to run St. Elizabeth's Hospital in Washington, D.C., Dr. E. Fuller Torrey. What a great American. What a great man. And he, early on, his sister had schizoaffective disorder, I think, or schizophrenia, unable to be treated throughout her entire life. And he devoted his life to this field. We have just, in the committee that I chair in Washington, we have just taken the samples that he took from individuals voluntarily that he treated, and we have turned them over to the Argonne National Labs in Chicago. And this is a lab run by our government, the highest level research we can provide as a country. It has supercomputing capacity and so forth. And what we are doing is analyzing brain tissue now with the highest light imaging. I see this light focused at us here. But imagine light imaging that is so powerful that it can get to the deepest cell inside the human brain. And what is happening in our country today, which gives me hope, is that we are able to scientifically examine what is happening to these individuals in a way that was never possible before supercomputing and highlight imaging. And we were able to see pictures of what these nerve channels look like, and they are so atypical. We don't know why, but we're going to find out. And I think for the next generation of law enforcement officers and for families and so forth, we're going to be able to figure it out, put the puzzle together, and we're going to be able to find ways to help treat these patients in a more humane way.
We also have to understand there's a masking effect that takes effect, that a lot of folks with mental health problems are self-medicating. And so they present in our criminal justice system as people that are abusing drugs in various ways. Domestic violence sometimes, alcohol abuse, all of those exacerbate the situation, and until we can get to the core issues and the core problems and deal with those as a community, those will continue. And so it's a complicated process, as a Congresswoman has pointed out, and something that I think this is a major step in dealing with on behalf of our community.
I think you saw it in the courts, didn't you,
I did.
Commissioner?
It's, you know, I can't tell you how many times as a judge that there were people that had both presented. And you were dealing with the mental health issues, the family were aware of the mental health issues, but you also had the abuse of drugs that were making it even more difficult to treat. And so understanding the holistic, the entire picture, gives us a chance to deal with the core problems. So this is important.
What a tragedy that across our country, the penal institutions have become the portal for us, perhaps as a society, to finally deal with this in a more humane way. The other thing we know is that when someone is put in the psychiatric facility, the forensic facility here over on Arlington and Detroit, usually the stay is about a month. That's not enough for individuals to come out of these conditions, for doctors to really understand what's going on and find the proper treatment for them. We don't really have good, in the whole country, we really don't have good facilities that keep people long enough to help stabilize them and to lead them to a more productive life. So we are, 100 years after Dorothea Dix, we are still at the beginning of better understanding, and I'm hoping that with what is happening here with this correctional facility, that we will be able to attract more federal dollars, and I'm going to ask Commissioner Byers if he won't help me with that.
Absolutely.
Because there's funding at the Department of Health and Human Services, there's funding at the Veterans Department for individuals who present, and one of the interesting things we found out with the jail in the past was that when people were admitted, if they were a veteran, nobody asked them. Now they do. And many veterans would never say they were a veteran. But if you ask them, did you ever do military service? They say yes. So it's just very interesting as you probe the layers of this, how complicated it gets, but we're people who can handle complicated issues. And we need places to stabilize people and not think that after 1 month they're going to get better. And that won't happen. But we need to somehow find a springboard, working with the forensic facility, working with the Zeph Center, working with the organizations here in Toledo who house people, and our hospitals, to find a better way to give people a soft landing rather than the cold, hard streets.
Mike, for Commissioner Byers, in terms of funding, you mentioned a $6-something odd million. Is this just for the mental health wing of this new jail?
No, the total, we're in the architectural and engineering phase of the project. The project overall should cost around $125 million. This portion that we are funding right now that this will go towards is the planning phase and the architectural phase. That's $6.5 million for the entire A&E that we'll be following. This is almost a third of that. That we're getting because of this earmark, and that's why it's springboarding. Again, our goal as commissioners is to build this jail without a tax increase. We're going to build it downtown, we're going to build it state of the art, and we're going to build it with the types of funds and sources. We have Sheriff Navarre begging everybody for money for this project, and he's quite good at it. And it just, many people think that he is wearing this mask to make sure that he doesn't infect us, but he's really hiding because he asked so many people for money. He's just wanting to sneak up on. I'm just kidding. I just, but seriously, this is about a third of our A&E cost, and this is just so important. Another aspect, and I don't want to get off topic, but we intend to have 2 courtrooms that are part of this facility as well, so that we can use state-of-the-art techniques as far as flowing of inmates, getting treatment, keeping people in a situation that is safe for them and the corrections officers. All of those are what we're looking to accomplish, and Sheriff Navarre is the lead on that.
I'm going to put Commissioner Byers on the hot seat here just for a second. In some places in the country, they actually have established mental health courts, behavioral health courts. Do you know whether anywhere in Ohio that even exists?
Actually, Judge Navarre, the daughter of our current sheriff, is in the process of creating a mental health court here in Lucas County Common Police Court. So,
And Judge Ian English, it operates our drug court, and certainly there's a lot of clients on both ends of the spectrum in drug court. So that's been going on for like 2 to 3 years. So we're in a really...
So specialty courts are a tool. It's not the sole answer, but it's an important answer. And in Lucas County, I'm happy to say that we're moving forward with that.
The other thing I want to say, we're the only place in northern Ohio, other than Ada, where there is a pharmacy school as part of our medical university. And we should be inventing some of the medicines to help, and we're not. And we're a place that invented sterile hearts, sterile valves from animals, from pigs that are being transplanted out at the university. We have invented many devices to help people who have orthopedic issues, because we have so many orthopedic challenges across this region. Surely in this arena, Dr. Postal, the president of the University of Toledo, and the pharmacy school could pay close attention. But here in Ohio, over in Cleveland years ago, a drug called clozapine was accidentally invented, and it was one of the original drugs that was used to try to stabilize patients. So Ohio's been known for doing useful things, and because we have a medical university and a psychiatric hospital right next door and a veterans clinic right next door, you would think that we would be a hotbed for research and development in this area, and I'm saying it so we become one.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
everybody.
Stay dry.
Yay.
Thank you so
Feel
much.
better.
Oh,
Thank
I wanna see
you.
this.
Thank you
Great
so
job.
much.
Thank you.
Thank you so